Sonic the Hedgehog? Oh yeah, come on Sonic. Yeah, buddy. Oh! Oh, got it! Woo! Hey! 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 Coming not. You can't take my moves. No! No, 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 no. Hey guys, X47 here, and we're back with another review video, and I cannot wait. And this one I'm actually pretty excited about, and I say that because I got a request in my comments, and again, you could put a request for what you want to see next in the comments. And this one is my first one about video games, and the actual comment was top 5 classic games, which was on a whole broad extortion of ideas. So I had to ask him, well, what do you mean by classic? Do you mean the Sega? Do you mean a PlayStation 1? Do you mean, what do you mean? GameCube, Nintendo 64? And he said, basically any game you played in your childhood that you loved. Well, good, I'm excited for this, and I started making my list. But when I was starting making my list, I started thinking back, way back into the old eras of the PlayStation 2, even the Sega, because I grew up with the Sega. I grew up with the PlayStation 2. I grew up with those kind of classic things, and I figured that a PlayStation 2 would be considered classic since it's now 2 generations behind since the PlayStation 4 came out, which is what I use now, as you can tell. So without further ado, let's get started. So coming in at number 5 is an arcade game, and I remember that me and my dad had a real kind of like a connection with it. It was an arcade game, and it was actually kind of like a family thing because it was something we can all play. It was very basic. You played it on. We had it for PlayStation 1, and we played it on PlayStation 2 all the time, so we couldn't ever save our scores. But I still had a lot of fun playing it. And that game is none other than the famous Galaga. Now, Galaga is that game where you just have the little rocket ship right there, and you got the big, huge things right here, and then you move side to side, and you just shoot. You don't move up or down, you don't move vertical, you just move side to side. It's kind of like Astros, but with only the perspective of going up. So that makes number 5 on my list because that was such a fun game. Now, again, this is a top 5, so there's a lot of games I could have added, but since I'm only doing top 5, I had to think about this very delicately about what games I was gonna put. So Galaga makes number 5. Number 4, we got a great old classic, older than Galaga actually. I believe it's older than Galaga. I'm not 100% sure. I would have to look it up. You would have to look it up. But number 4 is Golden Axe. You might not know this game, but this is played on the Sega Genesis, and I got a Sega Genesis for Christmas. They remade it, and it had all 3 Golden Axes. But the one I grew up with was Golden Axe 1. Me and my sister would grind, me and my dad would grind, or my dad and sister would grind playing Golden Axe the whole entire day. And it was one of the coolest games that have come out for me. It was, it was an adventurous game where you picked a character and they didn't really have a name. You made a name for them, and you decided their fate. Unless you were really bad at the game, then you shouldn't be deciding their fate. But it was such a great game. It was such a good memory from my childhood, and I can't believe that I get to play it once again, being smarter and not being the little kid, the little pipsqueak that didn't know A, B, or C. It's a lot of fun. I love it. If you guys haven't seen any of Galaga or Golden Axe, because they are kind of old, go check them out. They're really nice. I mean, I was born in 1996, so these are just the games I grew up. All right, on to number 3, and number 3 you guys might be more familiar with, and this was my personal first, my first game. Let's say the first game I've ever owned. And this game was phenomenal. and it was so basic. It reminded me of a Mario, of a Crash Bandicoot. And speaking of Crash Bandicoot, it's made by the same company. I'm talking about Jak and Daxter, the Precursor Legacy. This game blew my mind as a child. I loved it. I kept playing it over and over and over again, and as a child, I never beat it. Mainly because I like to start over from the beginning levels, and then when I got to the end, I just say, let's go, let's do it again. It's a game I kept replaying over and over and over and over again. I loved it. And I think that's the games I try to highlight most from my childhood. It's games that no matter how hard or difficult they were, I loved them so much that I kept playing it over and over and over and over again. So Jak and Daxter Precursor Legacy takes it. Jak and Daxter was more that complex game, trying to find everything using your smarts, your wits, but it was such an easy game as well because they made it so simple. And it made it, I felt like I got smarter as a child from playing Jak and Daxter because I had to learn counting. I had to learn, streetwise kind of stuff. I had to learn, it was kind of like I was learning how to be a detective because you had to find stuff, you had to look for stuff, and a great game. It was definitely one of my favorites from my childhood, I would say. Alright, coming to number 2. Now, the people that do know me and know my gaming life, well, this one might come out as a total surprise. They might have thought this was my number 1, but it's not my number 1. Because I took myself back to when I was a child and what games I enjoyed the most as a child. This one, I probably should have been playing when I was a kid. Not because it was rated E, it was a Disney game. However, or kind of a Disney game. However, it was so complex that I didn't know anything at all. It would confuse me. You gotta remember, this came out in 2005, I think, and let's go back in time. I was 9, so I didn't know any better. I wasn't that bright of a kid. I wasn't that smart of a kid, but I loved this game. And so, without further ado, let's reveal number 2, and that would be Kingdom Hearts. Kingdom Hearts is that strategy game where you have to really put everything together and make it work. Now, it was a simple game, but it was also a difficult game for me as a child. I think it came out I'm pretty sure 2005, and then Kingdom Hearts 2 came back out in 2007. Kingdom Hearts almost probably could have, but didn't make number 1 because, well, it's only that kind of strategy game where you play. It's Square Enix. It's kind of like Final Fantasy. It's a lot of strategy. It's a lot of thinking. It's a lot of exploring. And as a kid, I didn't understand any of that. But now growing up, it would probably be one of my favorite games of all time. Would be the Kingdom Hearts series. Now, like in my last top 5 video, I did an honorable mention list, and it wouldn't be right if I didn't do one now. So I have an honorable mention, again, 4 titles that I've played as a child, and wow, I'm thinking back to them, I'm thinking, I had so much fun with those games. So the first one is going to be Gauntlet Dark Legacy, and this was a game that I frequently, again, like Golden Axe, would play with my dad, my sister, and by myself sometimes. And it's an arcade game where you have like that top camera view, so it's like this, and you're just moving around and you kill stuff. You're a warrior, you're an archer, you're an elf, you're a different kind of class, and you fight and you play and you go through these realms, these levels. It was probably the longest game I've ever played as a child. So that makes an honorable mention because I had a lot of fun with it, had a lot of great memories with it. Another honorable mention is Yu-Gi-Oh! Capsule Monsters Coliseum. And I remember I got this at Blockbuster again, and I started playing it, and then my dad saw it, and he's like, oh, I want to play now. So he started playing it himself, and then he went out and bought it. And so we went out and bought it, and then me and him would just go toe to toe. He would be me, I would be him. He would be Earth and I would be dark, and he would be light and then I would still be dark. That was such a good game. It was very strategic. It made me smarter. It was one of those strategy games where I had to really think about where I moved and what I was gonna do. It was an easy game, of course, but at the same time, one mess up could leave you like devastated. So it was better to play against someone than play against an AI or a computer, because then you know what they're gonna do. Usually they do the same exact moves every single time. So if you play it over and over and over again, you're gonna remember their moves and their steps. The next one was another PlayStation 1 title. So I got to play it, but because we had it, but I didn't get to save my content. This one is PacMan World. PacMan World was one of those games where I liked Pac-Man, but not enough. And then they made PacMan World, where you actually play as Pac-Man. You move around with the joysticks, and then you jump, you collect stuff, you actually kill the ghost things, and you fight. And that was a fun game. And I only got so far because I couldn't save my content, because we didn't have a PlayStation 1, we just played it on our PlayStation 2 because it was compatible back then. A lot of fun. And now this one, the last honorable mention, is a game that was on the Game Boy Color. And this is going way back, before I even had a PlayStation 2. This game is Pokemon Crystal version. Probably one of the oldest Pokemon games out there, and one of the funnest Pokemon games out there. I remember every single time when I start a new game, I would always pick Cyndaquil. And I'm not a huge fan of Pokemon. I never was as a kid, but this was my first Pokemon game, and I had a lot of fun playing it. And then I started playing other Pokemon games later on, and I still had even more fun with it, because it's just a fun game. I like that balance. I like strategy games where you have to think about what you're gonna do next. Like, it was a turn-based game, obviously, and Pokemon Crystal definitely gets it. And Cyndaquil will always be one of my favorites, but my heart always goes to Squirtle Squad. I will always pick Squirtle no matter what, because Squirtle is a badass. Squirtle. So that's gonna do for my honorable mentions. Let's get on over to number 1 now. Alright, coming up at number 1. Now this one, I've beaten multiple times as a kid, and no matter how many times I've beaten it, 100% all the way through, collecting everything, it was by far my favorite game. And I remember something special about this game. When I first got this, I rented it at Blockbuster. Yeah, I'm that old. I'm not that old. Getting there though. But this game I rented, and then I loved it so much, and my parents obviously noticed this, that they went out and they bought me my own copy of it. And I remember sitting at the dinner table at, I believe it was Sweet River. It's a place in Merced that, I grew up with. And this one was just one hell of a game as a kid. And it makes number 1 because I had the most fun with it. I connected with a lot of friends with it, and I just play it over and over again, and I just wouldn't care. I would know what happened. I would play so much that I would be able to quote every single line and dialogue in the game from each character. This game is none other than Sly Cooper and the Thievius Raccoonus. Sly Cooper was that game where you play obviously as a raccoon, like I said, and you're a thief. You're kind of like a Robin Hood. You steal from the rich and give to the poor. You beat the bad guys. You try and live on your family legacy, and it was such a good platforming game that it was so simple. It was so simple that, in fact, Sly Cooper 2, 3, and 4 changed dramatically, where you had a health bar, you had all these combo moves, you had all these more complex things. While in Sly Cooper, it was so simple. It's just a 1 slash, you can creep around stuff, you got the hook so you can swing on stuff, you got the hook so you can climb stuff, and you can climb everything, and it was just that really sneaky game. It was a very basic concept, and Sly Cooper 2 is like Sly Cooper 1 on steroids, let's just say. So Sly Cooper 1 does make it as my number 1. So anyway guys, I hope you enjoyed the video. I hope you enjoyed my games that I mentioned. I hope you look them up and check them out, especially Galaga, Golden Axe, and even Kingdom Hearts. Kingdom Hearts was a personal favorite of mine, and it always will be. Sly Cooper though does make number 1, and so if you have any more ideas for top 5 reviews, go to the comments right there and you let me know, and I'll get jumping on it right away, because I'm in college. It's like I got anything else to do except for study. That's all I ever do. Anyway guys, take care, have a wonderful day, and I'll see you guys next time. This is X-47 signing out. Wabam!